Hi, welcome to Positive Conversations with David and Donna. I'm Donna,
I'm David.
and today we, of course, have many things to discuss related to the situation we're all in. And
hmm
I kind of have an angle I want to hit. Actually, I wasn't quite sure where I wanted to go with this because David and I have been trying to get together to record this for, I would say, almost a week now. We
Yeah,
finally found
probably.
time, but
We're
I
doing
was
it over
eating
Skype,
supper.
actually.
Yes, so we are practicing social distancing even as we do our work.
hmm
But my one of my assistant principals from my school called me while I was eating my supper, and he said he was very concerned about the well-being of our students because even as adults, so many of us are scrambling and trying to wrap our head around what's going on, and maybe falling into depression or just negative feelings. And he knows that I'm the kind of person who's always concerned about my students, and he was encouraging me to reach out and make sure that I was available to them and offer myself if they needed anyone to talk to. And interestingly enough, I had already done that this morning. We have our remote learning set up to Google Classroom and Remind. And even though all my students haven't joined because I didn't have that set up before we went home, I wrote up something today called Let's Do News, because at the beginning of every class I teach, I have a little bell, like a hotel lobby bell or hotel counter bell. And I ring my little bell and say, okay, who has news? Or sometimes one of my students gets up and leads the news. And I said, we haven't seen each other or talked to each other, so let's share our news, or you could at least share it with me. So
hmm
I was along those lines already. And I wanted to talk about that a little bit and also just give some suggestions about ways to look at the day ahead of you and get through it in a positive way, because this is positive conversations, and it's easy to let your mind focus on what's negative, and there are ways to break yourself of that habit. So that's where I want to head, and I'll see if David wants to say anything before I jump into that content.
I think that this was a great thing to do. So, obviously, uh, we're referring to all the stuff going on right now with the pandemics and the and the quarantines and having to
Social
stay home,
distancing.
social distancing and stuff like that. And I didn't realize how much it would affect me.
Well, let's hear that right now.
Like, I heard, like, I like video games, right? So of course
Hmm.
the memes going around is like, oh, we have to social distance. Wow, this is so unordinary for us gamers to do that. Like joking and being
Yes,
like,
ha
yeah, it
ha, nudge,
makes
nudge, wink, wink.
yeah, no, no, exactly, and it's like jokes like, oh man, we were made for this and stuff like that, and I'm like, yeah, haha, no big deal. I'll just stay inside and okay, I really want to do a video on one of my favorite video games, and I needed some footage from it. So I'm like, oh, I'm just gonna stay inside all day and play that. And I was like, no big deal at all. And within the first day, I'm like, I really want to go outside right now, or I really
Mm-hmm.
wish I was going somewhere. And I even
Mm-hmm.
rode with my mom to her job, like to her work, where she had to pick something up for like 10 minutes. I just
Mm-hmm.
rode with it just to get out of the house for a second, and I didn't go in anywhere. Just stayed in the truck with her, and well, just stayed in the truck and
Absolutely.
she went in. But just to leave the
Yeah.
house. So e- even when you think it's not going to affect you, even if you're a homebody, losing that ability to go over to your friend's house whenever you might want, or I like to go to the library a lot. I'm not
Mm-hmm.
doing that right now, of course, and it
Right.
it, it does build on you, and you get you get this impending lonely feeling that
Yes,
can just really mess you up, and so I hope that we can help
I
everybody to
agree.
get through
And
that.
yes, and I think that because we are so connected socially through our media, we sometimes rely on that. And when we realize that that's all we have to rely on, it can be overwhelming to realize, hey, I'm not going to see or touch, hug, my
Yeah.
friends. And my daughter's situation, my son and my daughter. My son's girlfriend went to Tennessee. That's where she's from.
Mhm.
So he is not going to see her until after this whole thing is over, because certainly she's not going to be traveling back and forth, until she can. She's an LSU student. And then Lisa's boyfriend of Lisa, that's my sister's name. I always do that. Anyway, Amelia's boyfriend is one of my students, Jason. I think we've talked about that before on the podcast. And so he just lives in Denham Springs. It's a 20-minute drive, but we've just not really allowed any of that lately because, whoever we are all exposed to, we would expose Jason to that, and he would expose us to all the people, his family, and that he lives with, So they really want to see each other. And in fact, he did just kind of show up in our driveway yesterday. So they visited outside and hugged, and we're so glad to see each other. And I understand that completely. But, we do have to just kind of
social distance.
Yes. And I mean, it doesn't mean you can't see anybody, but you do have to really think about who you are seeing. So I think we all know what that means. But what I want to focus on is just like when you wake up, you have a whole day in front of you before you get back in your bed and go to sleep and repeat. And we will be having this cycle for at least a month. And from other sources, like the CDC came out a week ago saying at least 8 weeks. And of course, numbers change and situations change, and it could be more or less or whatever. But let's just, for the sake of argument, say we have another month of this where now, according to our Louisiana governor, there are even more people who are encouraged to not go to work at all. And one of those people that influences me would be my husband. He has a state job, and he did get a laptop so he could work at home. And he was going to go to work Monday, Wednesday, Friday, and just work at home Tuesday and Thursday, just so he wouldn't be in the office every day. So he went into work today thinking that he would come home and not go back. And so we all thought that too. And so I'm at home with my 16-year-old daughter and my 18-year-old son. So our schedules are different. Sam's sleep cycle is pretty much, stay in the bed until afternoon. So he's not mingling with us that much, but he is in the house. Amelia and I both just kind of work around each other. She'll sit at a desk. I'll sit in my office. She'll go to the living room. I'll go to my bedroom. We're not always in each other's hair, but we are still around each other. And then you add my husband into the mix. We have to figure out, okay, I'm going to set up your computer here, but then I'm going to have to work here. We're all doing that now. We're trying to figure out where is space in the house where we can do the work that's required, and also where's a place where we can get away from each other. So that can be a very daunting thing. And I have a very lucky situation, and I'm sad to say that I know many people don't, because there are people who would rather be anywhere else but their home. I get along with my family, and of course there are squabbles and there's not abuse and whatever, but I'm concerned very much about my students that I know don't live in the best situation. And of course that would apply to even, a woman who's, or a man or woman, I don't mean to discriminate, but who is in an abusive relationship, and now you can't get away from the person who's abusing you. It's a very scary thing for people to have to face. And that is, I think, what was concerning my principal when he called. It's like there are so many reasons that our students might be, falling down that rat hole and just falling into depression and don't have a way to deal with it. So what we all have to remember is that we can support each other. There is a way. So for my message, and I want to make this another link we can share with my students like we did for the last creative conversations, which was about our last play, is just let my students know that I'm available. Like, it does not bother me at all if you just want to, send me an email, a remind message, a text, whatever, and say, hey, I am bored out of my mind, or I'm very sad, or I'm very angry, or I just can't deal with this. I don't know how I'm going to deal with, how I'm going to put up with my whoever, whatever, it could be a bratty little brother. It could be that your internet broke, or whatever it is, your video game, because we're all going to have complaints. And if we do think that it's nirvana, like you said, hey, I get to sit and play my video game all day, and then you realize, wow, I'm really kind of tired of this after 4 hours, and then you still have the rest of the whole day. You have to realize that you are not alone. It might feel like you are, but you can reach out to somebody, whether it's me, if you're one of my students, or whether it's, your friends. Of course, that's how teenagers live now. My daughter is constantly on her phone with her friends, and they just chat back and forth. Sam is FaceTiming his girlfriend pretty much as every hour he's awake. So there is connection, but there are people, I feel like, who would think to themselves, I really don't have somebody to talk to. Nobody cares how I feel, or they don't know who to reach out to. So I do want to make it very clear to anyone who is my student listening to this that I am completely available, and I do check my phone and my email often. So I will quickly get back to you because I'd probably be thrilled out of my mind that you contacted me because it gives me something to do, you know?
Hmm.
So that's a big message. But the other thing, and this affects me personally, is just thinking, okay, here is a day. I'm going to wake up, and between the time I get out of my bed and the time I get back into my bed, what do I want to accomplish? And this is where people fall because even I have, like, the first week, because this is my second week of this stay at home business, I would just find myself saying, well, I'm going to go do this. So I'll, for example, I'm editing a play. So I would come sit at my computer and start editing the play. Well, Amelia would get up, so I'd go talk to her. Then we'd talk about what we're going to eat for breakfast. And then I would feel like, oh, I need to go wash some clothes. And then I would say, I'm kind of tired. I'm going to go watch some TV. And so by the end of the day, I would just think, well, wait, I was going to do that and it wouldn't get done. And so now that we're in week 2, I've, for whatever reason, kind of decided, I really don't want to spend the rest of my 4 weeks off doing nothing. And so I have decided that what I want to do is just find a small step. So, for example, a friend of mine gave me a whole bunch of pots and pans she cleaned out of her kitchen, and they have been sitting in my kitchen waiting to go to the attic now for 4 months. I mean, it's been months. It's ridiculous. Like, I've just been sitting there just gathering dust because I haven't put them in a box and put them in the attic. I've intended to do it. I just haven't done it. And so I told Amelia today, I said, after lunch, I'm just going to start. I'm going to go in there and start putting these things in a box because the key is to start doing it. And that's what my sister told me one time. The hardest thing is to just get started. So I went in there and I started wiping the stuff off because it had gathered quite a bit of dust. And I got some boxes and I put the stuff in the box and I taped them up and I labeled them. And then I'm like, the kitchen counter sure is messy. And so I started moving stuff around. I picked up everything off the table. I wiped the table. I wiped the kitchen counters because I started. And so it might be that you obviously won't spend, 5 hours, cleaning your kitchen just because you need to pick up a box. But the point is just to say to yourself, today, before I go to bed, I'm going to put these things in a box and let that be your goal. And so when you start that and you do that one small step, more than likely it will lead to you doing more. But even if that is all you do, at least you've made a step in that direction. And I'm actually now editing a second play. So we wrote 2 plays this year, and I'm trying to get them ready to submit. And so the goal for today was let me at least read, 2 scenes. You know what I'm saying? And again, once you sit down in front of the computer and start editing the 2 scenes that you want to make sure you finish, a lot of times you're like, well, since I'm here, let me go ahead and do 2 more or 5 more or whatever.
Hmm.
So it may lead to more and it may not. But if you set the little small goals at the beginning of the day, and then you get to the end of the day and you have completed the small goals, you'll find that you probably will complete more than the 2 goals, more steps than you intended, because it's just how we are. It's the idea of actually doing it as opposed to let me go sit in front of TV and watch a Netflix series I've seen 4 times. So those are thoughts in my brain, if you want to add anything.
I really enjoy all of that. I'm suddenly realizing that the title of this podcast is going to be called Mentally Surviving the Quarantine.
I'm saying
Uh,
it's very much mental.
yeah, it's very mental and it can all be daunting on you, having to stay inside and everything that's going on and a great and you didn't explicitly say it, but I think what I gather from that is a great way to get past it is to keep yourself busy and
Hmm.
in a good way. And even people who are extremely lazy, being me, they will tell you it is 1,000 times more rewarding to do something productive, even if it's something that is as simple as washing a load of clothes or something like that, or taking the trash out. It just makes it feel like whenever you slide into your sheets at night, you feel a lot better going to bed because you did something that you won't have to do the next day. You don't have to push it off. Um, one of our mottos, it's on the top of our website.
Oh
Is
yeah.
whatever you want to do today, start. Whatever you want to do tomorrow, start today.
Right.
And this applies to that. And this is a great opportunity to do that. So to look on the bright side of it, this is a great opportunity to do all those things that the boxes in the kitchen, the pots and pans you have to put up and stuff like that. It's a great opportunity to have the time to do that. And what I would suggest and what I'm trying to do is, right, set yourself one solid goal.
Yeah.
I'm working on a lot of videos, and if you've been following the channel, there's a lot of videos going up, and I have like probably 6 right now that I've started work on.
Mm-hmm.
And today when I woke up, I said I'm going to finish my Walking Dead video. I'm going to finish that one.
Good.
And now that one's out of the way.
So you did it.
So I did it, yes. So that one is
Cool.
out of the way, so that tomorrow, that is no longer one I have to work on it. Slowly it'll go, slowly that'll like, die down until my workload is clear and I can start a bunch of whole new projects. Or,
Mm-hmm.
another thing that I would like to do, I'm going to start doing tomorrow. I haven't done this yet, but I want to start doing because I heard it, is giving myself a schedule.
Yeah.
Uh, having a set time of like I'm gonna wake up at this time, which I did do that today. Because another thing, it's really easy to sleep in late, and it's okay to sleep in later than you normally would. Now with the quarantine and everything like that, but you don't want to overdo it because you'll wake up feeling sick, even more tired than you
Yeah.
actually would if you got up earlier. That happens to me a lot. So
Mm-hmm.
wake up, give yourself that schedule of when you're gonna wake up. Say, at this time I'm going to eat lunch, at this time I'm going to work, at this time I'm going to stop and go watch some Star Trek, or I'm going to play this game, I'm going to work on this and this at this time. That's what I want to try to do,
Well,
because I've heard
I'll
it
just say
suggested.
this to you. I'm a very regimented person generally, but just because I've gotten to the end of the day, especially during last week, and I'm thinking, how did I get through this whole day and not do anything I wanted to do? And it's not like I didn't do anything at all, but I felt very unproductive. I felt like I really hadn't accomplished anything important at all. And it's just simply because, I am the mother of the household. I am walking around straightening up the kitchen after my kids. I am washing the clothes. I am, you know what I'm saying? I'm not doing that all the time, but
Hmm.
there are things that I just really wasn't accounting for that take up my time. So I decided more instead of a time. Like I eat when I'm hungry, and honestly, right now I'm really trying to watch that because we're going to all be rolling out of our house in 2 months if we just keep eating. Because I'm sure I'm not the only person who's feeling that.
Hmm.
So I've been trying to just kind of have this different frame of mind about what I put into my body while I'm sitting around doing nothing. Finding time to do some kind of exercise, some kind of getting out of the house, even if it's just walking around the neighborhood or just walking in your yard just to get outside, which I have not done today, by the way. But
I've
in
been
my
taking my
head,
dogs on on
yeah, well, see,
walks
that's
too.
really good. My daughter's like, why can't we get a dog? Because then I could walk him and I could have company. I'm like, well, baby, we don't have a dog because your daddy is allergic, but that doesn't seem to matter to her at the moment. But yeah, definitely, if you have a dog, it keeps you moving and getting out of the house. Sometimes whether you want to or not. But again, once you do, you're probably glad you
Yeah.
have done it. But for me, the whole idea of I'm going to wake up at this time, eat at this time, and do this at this time is just not is not feasible because of my situation. Like I might say I'm going to
Hmm.
do this at 10 o'clock, and then Amelia gets up out of bed, and I'm not going to ignore my daughter. Like, hey, what you going to do today? And you know what I'm saying. So my goal, instead of setting a time, is to say, but by the end of the day, I want to at least have done this much, this much, this much on whatever projects I'm working on. And like I said, I know myself. I know that if I set the goal of editing 2 chapters or 2 scenes or whatever I said, that once I sit down to do it, I will more than likely do more than that. And the other thing I guess we need to talk about is when you do get in your bed at night and you have had one of those days where you really didn't get to anything you said, there's no reason to beat yourself up about that either. It's just
Hmm.
more like you just have to find a way to keep your mind on things that you want to accomplish. And so many people fall into the worry, and that's what I've talked about even before this pandemic, is if you let your brain go to all the what ifs and what will happen if, and what should I do, and whatever, and you spend your days just wallowing in the situation instead of kind of seeing it for, of course, we both want to encourage everybody to actually stay at home because it's so easy not to. Like, well, I'm just going to go see my friends because it won't hurt anything. Well, we don't know that for a fact yet. What we do know is the more people are around each other, the more it spreads. So we definitely know that, and we don't have to worry about it.
Hmm.
It's just nice to do it. But try to just find a way to not ever get upset with yourself. And, the thing that everybody keeps saying is kind of like a joke and I guess a meme, no matter how people have worded it and shown pictures, is that, we all say, if I only had time. Man, I would do this, and that if I only had time. And so now that we have time, all we're doing is, getting up, not even brushing our teeth or putting on clothes and laying around in our pajamas and, and
Yeah.
it's just so hard to find the motivation. And part of that is the worry, but the other part of it is the lack of structure or the lack of direction. So you just have to find something that works for you.
Yeah, you're right. You have to know yourself and you have to find something that works for you. See, you're 100% correct. And I know me, and I know that if I say by the end of the day, then I'll end up staying up till 12 o'clock at night, literally, because I'm like I didn't do anything throughout the day. I
Hmm.
did because I'm like, oh, I can do it later. Um,
Yeah.
that also brings up something I wanted to, that's a good idea. You mentioned like brushing your teeth, putting on clothes. A great way to stay sane in all of this is to not let it affect things like that.
Yes.
Doing small, simple tasks. I'm telling you, because I've been through the same thing. Horrible depression stages of not doing anything, not moving, being so sick because I just didn't take care of myself at all.
Hmm.
Let me tell you, the best thing to do is wake up in the morning, go brush your teeth. Just brush your teeth, and
Yep.
you'll feel better all day. You will feel so
Hmm.
much better all day. And put on a clean shirt. You will feel better all day. Um, just these simple things like just taking care of yourself. Make sure that you brush your hair. Make sure it's clean. And it seems so small, but when you put on deodorant, even if you're not going outside, put on deodorant. Like just doing things like this make things feel a lot more normal. It makes you feel productive, gets you in a mood to say it's like what you said, like it's like a snowball where I brush my teeth. All right, let's go. Or I put on deodorant. I'm gonna go on a walk, or
Uh-huh.
I'm gonna make breakfast that isn't like I don't know something's extremely unhealthy. Like doing these small things, these things that seem so minor, they trick your brain into feeling better. I
I agree with
promise you,
you.
and
I really do.
it'll snap you out of those stages, and it's as simple as like whenever I see my friends in a depressive state, I'm like, all right, go take a shower, then come out of the shower, put on this clean shirt, like it's
Hmm.
maintenance, it's maintenance on
Yes.
yourself, and
Yeah,
you
it's
do
taking
that.
care of you.
Yeah, it's taking care of yourself. Simple things like that, and it'll make your day so much better, and make it go by a little bit faster, maybe
Hmm.
and
Yeah.
make you feel a lot better.
Yeah.
Definitely do that. Um, Also, I don't want to talk for too much, but I had another thought. So
Okay.
you mentioned like the eating stuff, right?
Oh yeah.
That has been a real thing on my mind because, as you know, I've been learning to cook a lot, and I know we're going over 20 minutes, but it's kind of a special episode. It's a lot going
I
on.
was thinking 30. I was thinking
Yeah, me
30.
too.
So let's stick to 30-ish.
Right,
Go
right.
ahead.
I've been cooking a lot, and I've been cooking a lot now, but I'm so concerned about conserving food just because all the stuff going on and like not wanting to go crazy that I've been pulling back on some of the ingredients I might use, and so I have some tips for that. I'm not going to get into too much here, but I am actually tomorrow planning on making a video uh, to show off some of my ramen tricks, because
Okay.
that is a food that everybody can get. It'll last a long time. It's a great quarantine food, very cheap. You can get a whole lot of it, and I'm gonna teach you guys how to spice it up a little bit and make it something just to the next level, um, and not just this crappy little bag of noodle that you eat because you have to. Ramen is delicious. I love ramen with all of my heart, but I didn't love it until I started doing these simple little tricks where
Gotcha.
yeah, to make it just a little bit better. For example, just a quick one. This is just a teaser. Instead of making it in the microwave, make it in a pot. That's it. And then all of a sudden, it feels like real food.
Yep. I got you.
So
Got.
be on the lookout for that video. if you want to know
Love
how to
it.
make some better ramen to survive this quarantine.
Yeah, we're all going to survive it some kind of way. So, big messages, I guess, to kind of wrap up is that, people need to be there for each other. And I know, like I said, sometimes people don't want to bother somebody else with their problems. But personally, if somebody texts me for any reason, like, hey, I'm sad, hey, I'm upset, hey, I just want to talk to somebody, hey, whatever, I am thrilled out of my mind because I'm so happy to hear from, you know what I mean? I really, as a teacher, I don't know if people really understand because it's been all over the internet, obviously, and I'm a high school teacher, and there was a post I read about high school teachers, but I have to say goodbye to my high school students, and sometimes for the last time because they graduate and go away and I don't ever see them again. But for me to have this ending so abrupt, and we are still unclear about if we're going back or not, but it's just heart wrenching for me. I love my job. I love my students. I love the interaction that I have in my classroom. And it's difficult for me to just suddenly be separated from all that. So I welcome any contact I have from them. And I'm sure a lot of people feel that way. They just want to hear from somebody. And, I reach out to my sisters and other people that are my friends and whatever when I want to talk about whatever I'm upset about too. But I'm very available for anyone who wants to talk to me. And then the other things we talked about, getting up, maybe not at a specific time, but once you do get up, take care of yourself and either set a schedule or set certain tasks you want to complete by the end of the day. Like use the time and try to think about all those things you always said. I wish I had more time. I mean, this is a gift in that way. We will probably never have this kind of a gift again. And for us in this part of the country where we had to be away from school for a month and we were, tearing up our homes, this is luxury. I mean, we are going to be away from school for a month or two or whatever it is, and we're living at our home and it's all put together and we have food and air conditioning, and so we can just see it as the gift that it is. Spend time with your family, spend time doing things that you've always wanted to do, learn something new, sit outside and just bask in nature, which we so rarely do these days. Just a few kind of tips to keep us all afloat.
And before you know it, all of it will be over and have
It
passed.
shall.
And this is just some little tips to get through that a bit easier without pulling your hair out.
Yes, and we hope that that helps, and we'll probably be giving more tips as this time stretches by. And of
Right.
course, we would love to hear any tips you have. Leave a comment, and we will share
Please
them on
do.
our.
That would be amazing. We're definitely gonna be making some more positive conversations before this is over. A couple more episodes would have come out. So yeah, that's a great idea. Leave a comment, mention any quarantine survival tips that you have for us that we can share with the world.
Absolutely. All right. Well, I guess it's a good time to wrap up. So I guess I'll just say thank you for listening to Positive Conversations. This has been Donna.
And David.
Stay positive.